This is a shrinking movie at its core, and there's a long history of cinematic shrinking movies, from Incredible Shrinking Man, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but this had to be 2015's version of a shrinking movie.
Visually, there are things in this movie you've never seen before. I mean, there's some of the technology and what they're doing has never been done before.
The bar is very, very high in terms of technology. It's got to look photorealistic. We have to believe that he's shrinking.
And you just shrunk down, and...
How'd you do that, bro?
Look at your shoulder.
These films have 2 or 3 different crews going on. You have your main unit shooting your actors. You have your second unit doing some of the action sequences. You have your green screen unit. And then finally you have your macro unit doing everything from the ant's point of view. And it's amazing.
We used a combination of motion picture macro photography, still macro photography, motion capture with the actors, motion capture with the stunt people, and I think that's sort of the big technological revelation of the movie.
We spent weeks and weeks filming the tiniest details within bank vaults, within ATM machines, the tile work of bathrooms, the tiniest of pipes, the areas between the first floor and a second floor between buildings. We had these cameras that were, full 4K digital cameras, but had lenses this big that could scope through and capture these things.
For every set we'd have, we would build these sort of miniature sets, these macro sets. If you're down small with Ant-Man and he's running across a floor or running through a carpet, I really wanted to feel those textures and make it really tactile.
To be able to have a starting point that you go from a real object, that to us saves hundreds of hours in trying to match.
And using the technology the way we do, we have the resources to make all those surfaces real, but we can still move our camera around as much as possible.
It feels like a very interactive, real space because it is one.
What we ran into were a lot of the same issues that the comic book artists who drew Ant-Man back in the day had. Having him small in the frame is always really exhilarating. Having these points of reference for size in every frame is really, really important. We were constantly challenging ourselves about, does he seem small in that? Does he seem small enough in that? Are we buying that? And part of it is sort of tricking the viewer's minds when you're watching it, and having all these things like dust motes became our thing. When he's down small, there's dust everywhere. But when you're small, it's like, these dust particles floating around.
What's great about the climax of the film is, even though it starts in these epic landscapes, as the intensity of the climax increases, we end up in his daughter's bedroom. So the most intense part of the battle between Scott Lang as Ant-Man and the Yellow Jacket takes place among toy trains and dollhouses and these tiny toy environments that just we blow up to epic proportions.
Any location, the inside of a briefcase, the playset in a little girl's bedroom, becomes an epic setting for an action battle.
It'd be much easier to hit you if you were bigger!
Yeah, great. Cut it.
There were all these technical considerations that we were constantly monitoring throughout. It was originally designed to be 2.40 widescreen. And the more we sort of started looking at stuff, I started thinking, well, this feels like a 1.85 movie. And there was discussion because it's like, well, man, 2.40 is the epic aspect ratio. And I said, well, Joss's first Avengers is 1.85, and that's a pretty epic movie. And it just made sense because the actor shrinking is really essentially a vertical act. And when you're small, the world you leave behind is really above you and around you. So we switched to 1.85, and I'm glad that we did because the visual effects stuff is it's so much more compelling.
We did a lot of research of macro photography of ants that has existed. What happens when you're down at the level with these animals is that when they start feeling like they have personality, it's very strange. So it was important to us to keep the designs photorealistic, but we wanted to make sure that their mannerisms and the way they acted became more evident when you were down at their level.
A lot of these ants have never been seen to this kind of degree or level of detail. So we went through a lot of versions in trying to figure out, okay, which one is the best.
One thing that helped is that we thought of each breed of ant as a different type of animal. So you'd have the bullet ants, which are the biggest brutes of the lot, and they're like the size of elephants. They're these giant beasts that you can't hope to, really control. Then you've got the flying carpenter ants that feel like, horses. Regular carpenter ants that feel like, giant dogs. The fire ants who are like engineers of the group. They took on a personality, a more animalistic, and they felt less like creepy crawlers and more like actual, living, breathing pets.
It was 1987. Separatists had hijacked a Soviet missile silo in Kursk and launched an ICBM at the United States. She turned off her regulator and went subatomic to deactivate the bomb. And she was gone.
The way the suit's designed, there's something called a regulator. And the regulator makes sure you don't shrink smaller than a pinky fingernail, the approximate size of Ant-Man.
What if you took that off? What would happen in the subatomic world, the quantum realm? Is there a way that, like we've seen shrieking throughout the movie and in the third act, can we take it a whole nother level? We really liked that idea.
The quantum realm is every mind trip that anyone has ever taken and more. It was a great discovery process for us to find that.
We've talked to physicists and they've told us about when you get smaller than an atom, when you go into the nucleus and you get smaller than a quark, suddenly reality itself starts to shift. It becomes a realm of probabilities where an electron could be in point A or point B or in both places simultaneously.
The quantum realm to me was important as a moment of self-sacrifice for Scott Lang, but also that it tapped into that kind of psychedelic aspect of Marvel in the comics, and whether it was, outer space or inner space, this sort of cosmic soup of it all. I wanted to stake a little bit of a claim in that world too for Ant-Man and go into this subatomic realm. What would that look like and how do you get out? And that was a really fun thing to be able to explore.
We've made a lot of movies at this point. A lot of heroes have inhabited the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it really felt like it was time to find a way to do something different.
It's different from just about every film that we had done, and yet I think it holds a little bit of that essence of that cinematic universe.
As filmmakers, sequences where with size and scale and see the world from new perspectives and hopefully put something on the screen that audiences haven't seen before excites us as much as anything.
In the Marvel Comics world, Hank Pym is really he is one of the elder statesmen of the Marvel world.
Because he's one of the original Avengers, he's someone we've been dying to bring to the big screen.
Ant-Man actually is one of the most dangerous Avengers.
An incredibly powerful character.
I can shrink, and that's actually really, really cool. It isn't like I'm this big and I have the strength of a normal person. I actually exceed the strength of a normal person.
It's not just a guy in a suit who's incredible. It's a guy in a suit and legions of ants.
Technology's finally caught up with the story of Ant-Man. We're able to really bring the audience down into his world in a way that's never been done before.
Scott, I need you to be the Ant-Man.
Michael Douglas is playing Hank Pym, who was the original Ant-Man in the original Marvel series.
The guy is so good in so many good movies that, you forget. I'd be in the middle of scenes and I'd just be like, oh my God, falling down,
Michael is amazing because Michael thrives in these sort of characters who live in a gray area. You know they're a hero, but you don't know that they're always going to make the right choice.
This has been a whole new experience, and I loved it. I've never been in the Marvel world before, never done any kind of this green screen special effects, so Ant-Man was definitely a new experience.
We need you. The Pym particle is a miracle, please. Don't let your past determine the future.
As long as I am alive, nobody will ever get that formula.
It's a 1989 version of Hank. I didn't know what anybody was talking about. They said, oh, this is the first day he looks like this. And so I haven't seen what he looks like present day.
Ants, they can do a lot of things, but they still need a leader. Somebody that can infiltrate a place that's designed to prevent infiltration. There's a strong heist element in terms of breaking into Pym Industries' head offices and snatching and stealing the secrets that Corey Stoll's character's been working on.
So excited to work on this movie. The only thing Marvel is really interested in is how good the movie can be.
With Paul, people really identify with him because he really is just one of us. He's just a regular good guy.
Paul is just killing it as Ant-Man. The character is just really likable. And I think that they're gonna feel for the guy and want him to succeed. Almost like a little bit of like a Robin Hood kind of thing.
I think our first move should be calling the Avengers.
One of the things that I was really happy to discover doing a movie at Marvel is they all have to work within this larger universe. But the amazing thing is that they're all allowed and actually encouraged to have their own individual tones and idiosyncrasies. So I was really thrilled to find out that this movie is encouraged to have its own specific tone. And the tone of this movie, it's comedic, but it's also a heist movie. So there's a rhythm that it has to have. And that rhythm really affected the way I shot the movie, and then, you know, in terms of music, the way we scored the movie. A little bit of jazzy vibe to it, and also really fun.
In every good heist movie, you need that moment where there's all this technical jargon flying back and forth, and the layman sitting in their seats is like, they're so smart, I have no idea what's going on, but they're gonna kick ass. I love it.
It feels sort of like a Ocean's 11 movie, you know, where you've got all these different little special teams.
Let's give it more heist tropes. You know, there are a couple of times where Luis has these tips about a possible thing, and the way we present it with him sort of telling the story and as this unreliable narrator and the camera's whipping around to these different people.
Yeah, crazy stupid fun.
Scott is estranged from his ex-wife and from his daughter, and these guys are his family in the movie. And, you know, when they come back toward the end of the movie, when he suggests, like, we might need some other guys to pull this thing off, there's such an uplift from the audience when they see the movie because you just love these characters.
It's like Hawaiian pizza. You know, you take some ham and some pineapple and some cheese and you're like, that's never gonna work. But in a weird way, it does.
They feel each other's pain because they're trying to do the right thing, and it's like, you know, society isn't trying to give them a second chance and not giving them a break. So ultimately, you know, they resort to their instincts.
Wait a minute, get out of that van! It's too loud, there's a tank, I can't hear you!
There are things about, you know, the kind of token good guys in the movie who do things that are not so good.
It's not that easy for an ex-con to get any kind of jobs. So then we go on a heist, and then we start using our own particular skills for that heist.
We're this gang of kind of knucklehead criminals that are trying to turn something around.
We're actually doing good work, and you know, and it's funny. We're like, are we the good guys here?
Yeah, we're the good guys.
Feels kind of weird, you know.
I'm Shepard Frankel, the production designer on Ant-Man, and we are currently sitting in Luis's van. Luis is really proud of his van, but we kind of see it as a less than fancy van.
It's nice.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that van, it definitely smells. You know, you just try to clean a turd and polish a turd, but it's still a turd. I mean, and it's even the color of a turd.
The van, man, it started out as a not so glamorous vehicle and turned into a not so glamorous vehicle.
And bag it up, okay? All you're gonna do is we just bag it up.
Unless we break in and steal the Yellow Jacket and destroy all the data, Darren Cross is going to unleash chaos upon the world.
We are at Pym Technologies tonight, and we are going to blow it up. This is the climax of our film and the setting of the big heist that pays off all the setup that we've been building throughout the entire movie. Scott Lang, Hank Pym, and Hope Van Dyne have been meticulously planning this event, and it all pays off right here. We were at the Georgia Archives building, and it was a long road trying to find a location that felt like it could be a place Hank Pym built in the early 90s, but also house all the future technologies that his protege, Darren Cross, puts into it and builds within it.
The charges are set. We've got to find a way out of here and fast.
Don't worry. I'm not going to die. neither are you.
A tank, which seems like a innocuous little keychain throughout the entire movie, is going to suddenly expand in the 10th story of a giant building and careen through the side, smash into a fountain and explode.
We need a doctor!
We decided we would do it as a full-size element. We built a wall that replicates the side of the building. We built basically a steel shape that's the same size as the tank. It weighs about 3 tons. We put it on the track back behind the wall and we shot it through the wall at 25 miles an hour. You look at how dirty and how messy and how great it looked with all that debris, all that stuff flying through the air and the stuff breaking. I mean, it's hard probably to model that computer. It's just, you get so much value out of something like this on set. It just looks different.
Multiple shots fired!
And there's a tank.
One of the things that's so fun about working on Marvel films is you get to adapt the costumes from the comic books.
We've tried to keep very faithful to the Marvel concept, because that's ultimately the goal.
They gave us a couple of shots of the helmet and of the suit, and I basically worked from that.
Anything that is close up on him, he wears his beauty suit, which has got hard shoulders, hard corners, hard helmet. If he has to do a stunt, he would wear one that all those elements are made in a rubber form, so it's much more bendable and he can move more.
It never gets old. You never lose that rush of seeing the actor for the first time in the finished version of the costume.
When I put it on the first time, I stood differently. And I couldn't get over the fact that I was in the Ant-Man suit.
I actually was like, man, I wish I had a suit. That's the only time you ever think of, like, I wish I had a suit in one of these movies.
He walked into the room and I was just like, oh my God, that's so cool.
He's in like an Eddie Murphy Raw suit. So it's pretty funny.
Sexy. Nah, man, I was just, what if you have to pee? You know, I don't see a zipper or nothing, man.
It reminds me in some ways of like Evel Knievel. You know, they even sort of mistakenly say, oh, there's just this motorcycle suit. It feels like a motorcycle suit in some ways. And even the shrinking device, it's just a big red button on the thing. There's something very analog about this suit. I'm heavily biased on this issue, obviously, but I think the Ant-Man suit is the best designed suit in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Paul was working out a lot, so we knew from his first fitting that he would lose a lot of weight by the time we got to the final suit. I think he's lost about 5.5 inches off his waist since November.
From the very first frame of the movie, when you see Paul, it's like, oh wow, look at Paul Rudd. That dude is chiseled. He's badass.
For about a year before we started shooting, I had to stop doing anything fun and then go to the gym a lot. I had to take these tumbling classes and learn, how to do flips and light parkour. And it was just complete immersion in trying to get in shape and focused for the job at hand. Because normally the parts I play, they don't ever even want me in shape. I did some of the mocap stuff early on, like the first week, and I was like, I've been working hard for a year, and I'm rolling around, I'm doing flips, and I'm doing, and after about 30 minutes, I said, I gotta take 10 minutes. This is really hard, I'm exhausted, it's super tiring. And then Colin, who's doing things like falling 3 stories and landing on a metal bar and then flipping over again, would just do it all day. Never complain. He's got that stunt guy thing that they are cowboys. They don't complain, they just get up, do it again. And even the stunt team, even the other stunt people were like, Colin is insane. He's unbelievable. Like I think he's the real superhero of the movie.
We are on the bathtub set. This is for Scott's first shrink. I'm gonna pull Colin along, start him here, hang him on the wires, run, up as high as they want us to take him.
The only thing that's uncomfortable about the wire work is the harness digs into places that you don't really want it getting dug into. But no, it's not too bad, and it's fun. I mean, it's all really fun.
You want to show me how to punch? Show me.
The
That's how you punch. Hope Van Dyne is an expert at Muay Thai, which I'm obviously not. And I had to learn how to sort of hopefully move in a convincing way to make it seem like I could be an expert. And I could train a man who's been in prison and been in a lot of fist fights how to properly fight and kick his ass, which I do. And it's pretty cool.
Paul had so much, he was writing, he was working out, and I think Evangeline really, she dove into that fight choreography. I would not want to go into the ring with Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah. Give me something. Give me something.
I have glasses.
Punch in the stomach.
I have glasses.
Abort, Scott. Abort now.
It's okay. He can't see me.
I can see you.
He can see me.
They wanted an opportunity to introduce Ant-Man into the Avengers world because eventually, hopefully, in a comic book, he becomes an Avenger, so voila, I come and help that storyline out.
We are about halfway through the Ant-Man versus Falcon fight. Now, this is a scene where Ant-Man is small, he's punching Falcon in the face, and Falcon uses his jets and goes flying off backwards while he's firing at, hopefully trying to hit Ant-Man while he's small.
It's really important to me that Cap never finds out about this.
We're introducing not only a pillar of the MCU in Hank Pym, but also the future of the MCU with Scott Lang. He's going to be Ant-Man in Captain America Civil War and beyond. And Hope Van Dyne is also going to have her place in the MCU in a big way, taking on the mantle of the Wasp that her mother once had.
It's about damn time.
It helped in sort of planting certain seeds that if we're fortunate enough to kind of get to do another Ant-Man, to explore those later on.
Each time these characters are in a different film, they inherit some new DNA from that project they can bring over. Like you would in having a new experience, it changes you in some way. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Paul Rudd as Scott Lang mixes with the Avengers that are in Captain America 3. I think he's going to be a standout. His power set is so interesting compared to the other group, but he also has the comedic sensibilities that are really going to be fun to watch.
Nobody has any idea how unique it is, how different it is, and how people are going to want to see this little guy take on all the villains of the world.
Got it?
That's officially it. That is the end, the wrap on principal photography for Ant-Man. Thank you all.
This is a competitive business. I just do this during the day. At night and weekends, we do signs. I got a degree in graphic design. And but the thing is, the competitors down the road, they're getting all the business because the guy's got 2 degrees in graphic design. And I need to find out what he's charging some of these people, and I need somebody to break into his office and find out, and then maybe throw some gasoline all over the place and drop a cigar or something and put an end to that a-hole.
Talking to me? You must be talking to me, because I'm the only one here. You're talking to me.
Ow! I'll give you one where you fall.
You know that he was arrested for stealing a smoothie machine.
2 smoothie machines.
You want that?
Oh yes, I love this machine. It's like you put anything in smelt, you can put in yak's milk, we put in pig's fat, you mix together, it tastes like banana.
It always tastes like banana.
What can you tell me? Can you train me?
What? No. I'm not gonna train you to steal.
I trained you how to scoop sherbet into cones.
I can't do Ant-Man anymore.
We're
This thing, you can put anything in it, make it into juice, like hair.
That was my least favorite. The hair smoothie was not the best.
I'm C-3PO. That too.
It's quite a growth spurt. It's quite a growth spurt. Why can't I talk?
Cuff that You got it.
I heard you. I heard you. I heard you.
One time we had the blueberry, and then I had a problem in bathroom, so I was having.
It was pretty bad.
It was.
That's when you found out you were lactose intolerant.
I have gas. You're fired, buddy. But I'll tell you what, I can set you up with dozen gallons of any flavor you like. And you can eat ice cream for breakfast, you can eat it for lunch. I've had it 3 times in a day, and I feel great.
Get it?
Why don't you come with me right now?
Oh, shit, you're gonna kill me. Don't do anything. Should I just take them off now?
Holy
Is there anything I can say to make you change your mind?
You could say that you just purchased Baskin-Robbins and you have a whole new plan for the company that's hiring crooks and criminals and felons and monsters.
I expect that kind of from Cold Stone Creamery.